Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm going to start the presentation with a little an update on the CellCap project, and I'm going to hand it over to Jason. I will share my screen, and it's always nice to be in Frontenac. Place very dear to my heart.
Marco, do you want questions as we go or save them to the end?
I'm good either way. So if you want to have interrupt me as I'm speaking, that's fine. Or if you want to wait to the end, it's fine. So if something is on the top of your head and you wanna talk about it, please do so.
Okay, so folks, just say your name if you have a question, because I won't be able to see.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and I might not look at the camera all the time. I'm using my second screen to follow what we're presenting. So please don't mind if I'm not making eye contact all the time. But so yeah, I'm specifically talking to you about the CellCap project today. And many of you would have probably seen some of these slides in previous years. We come to council every year, so I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. And as I said, if you have a question, either interrupt me or wait. I'll probably take five minutes or something like that. So what are the goals of the CellCap project? We have three main goals. The first primary goal is to have 99% of Eastern Ontario, where people live, work, and travel on major roadways, to be able to make a phone call. And that's our primary goal. Our secondary goal is in that same area to have 95% covered with standard definition. So that's basically, you can check your email, you can do some web browsing and those types of things. And then 85% of the same area we are covering in high definition. So it could even be that you can do video streaming. So for example, when paramedics are traveling down from Plevna to KGH, and they need to consult by video with a doctor that's going to be receiving them at the hospital, then that's the kind of services that we're talking about with HD. A little bit about the funding of the project. So it's a $300 million project, an investment into infrastructure into Eastern Ontario. Both the province and the federal government have invested $71 million each. The EOWC and 9 of the 10 EOMC members have invested a little over $10 million into the project, and Rogers is matching that at a minimum at $150 million. And approximately 17 million of that infrastructure investment is being made into the county of Frontenac. This is just an overview to you might expect that it's not easy to build or not quick to build a cell tower. This is just an overview of how the process works. We estimate that it takes about 12 to 24 months to get to the point of going to actual construction. So we identified the gaps in coverage in Eastern Ontario, and you'll see later on in the slide there we're anticipating to build 257 towers at this point, new towers. And so once a gap has been identified, that the tower needs to be in a fairly close proximity to that gap that's been identified. And Rogers has a real estate team that goes out and finds a property, and they negotiate a lease with the property owner. Once that lease is in place, we conduct stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessments. This is part of something that came out of our duty to consult with Indigenous communities and organizations that's going throughout the process, and I have another slide on the DTC, as we call it, the duty to consult. And once that is in place, we go to the stage of land use authority, LUA, and all about that. That's at the municipal level. And once the LUA process is in place, we notify the province that we can go to construction on these particular sites. And at this point, we have released 178 sites for construction to the province. Then site, and once that's in place, site preparation can start, and we actually get to the point of construction. But even then, like, materials need to be ordered, utilities, there needs to be layouts, there needs to be connections, and as we all know from current, there's still supply chain issues, and sometimes that can affect some of this. Like, could be as simple as cement or a microwave dish on the tower, those types of things. So you can see that it takes time to build a cell tower. A couple of notes about our duty to consult. So the Crown has delegated procedural aspects of the duty.
Oh, are you on a meeting?
Somebody's not on mute. So the Crown has delegated the procedural aspects of the duty to consult to us, and provided us with a list of 18 indigenous communities and organizations that we need to consult with, which we do diligently. And it took us 13 months to get to the point that the Crown had satisfaction that meaningful consultation was happening. And at this point, we've met with, we have been in more than 160 meetings with indigenous communities and organizations, and that's Zoom, in person, site visits, all combined. And then, so here's an overview, an overall overview of the project. As I mentioned, well, I mentioned to some degree. So there's 312 existing towers, Rogers towers, that as part of the project need to be upgraded with equipment, and the vast majority of that has been completed. So 308 of the 312 towers have been upgraded with 5G equipment. Then there's 257 new towers that are being built as part of the CellGap project, and 41 of those have been completed and are in service. And then there's a third category, which is almost like a new tower as well. It's called we call it a co-location. It's where Rogers attaches their equipment to third-party telecom service providers, TSPs as we call them. And so it's almost like a new tower. It's a new tower to them, but it's an existing tower, but with new infrastructure from Rogers on this. And the majority of those have been completed too. So 51 of the 75 co-locations have been completed. And then Frontenac County specific, all the uplifts in Frontenac County have been completed. There's 13 new towers that are planned in Frontenac County, and none of them have been completed. Although there's 3 of them scheduled, and you'll see that later in a slide. 3 of them are scheduled to be completed this year. And then 3 of the 6 co-locations in Frontenac County have been completed. And basically that's my update. Like in the other slides, I obviously I can speak to it, but it's also something that you can look in your materials and see. Some of these names are intuitive. Some of they're just the way the sites are named. But all, like, the uplifts are all in service. The co-locations, 3 are in service, and then of the new sites, as I mentioned, there's 3 that are scheduled to be completed this year, and this is the schedule for the others. And then my last slide before I hand it over to Jason, or before we go to questions. So we're continuing to upgrades, and we hope, and we plan to complete all the uplifts this year. We also plan to complete the land use authority process this year. I know 10 of the 13 new sites in Frontenac County have already received land use authority. And if there's any issues with that process for the remaining 3, because we are getting closer towards the end of the project, if there's anything that we can help to assist as you go through that, please let us know. The indigenous consultation process will continue. And we are working on an announcement. Hopefully later this month. We're tentatively have a date at the end of May, where we're going to do another announcement of the progress that's been made in the project. And that's my part of the presentation as far as the CellCap project is concerned. So if there's any questions specifically to the CellCap project, it would be a good time.
So Marco, it's Bill Saunders.
Yep.
I'm in Frontenac Islands. The map was fairly small. I didn't see anything regarding an update on Wolf Island.
Yeah, there is one. Let me see. So there is a co-location that's planned on. So that's like as I mentioned, new Rogers equipment going on a third-party tower on Howe Island.
We're talking about Wolf.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Well, sorry, Wolf. as if I would know that. The uplift on Howe Island has been completed, and the new site, the co-location on Wolf Island, is not completed yet.
Thank you, Marco.
Yep.
Marco, it's Mike from Wolf Island. What do you think that'll be completed actually?
So I just flipped to that to that slide to see for myself, and so I wrote the C code down. Do you recognize what? Oh yeah, 8471. So that's scheduled for next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
If there's no more questions, Jason?
All right, thank you. And Marco, you don't mind just continuing to drive the slides for me? Excellent.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you very much. Good job on that part, Marco. So on top of the 600 plus towers that we're working on right now across Eastern Ontario, the staff of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network thought we needed a couple additional projects just to keep our staff of 12 people busy here. So we took a couple of new initiatives on this year to support the EOWC on a couple of regional opportunities, and have been working through that. So I thought I'd share some information on those today, as well as a little bit on our CMHC award that I would share with the group here as well, although I won't go into too much detail on that because Frontenac is the godfather of the communal system for Eastern Ontario, so I don't have to teach anybody or talk to anything in too depth here with this group. So first of all, though, the EORN team, we did complete the regional housing plan for the EOWC, the 7 and 7 plus regional housing plan. This was a request from the EOWC about 8 or 10 months ago after KWM came out with the business case to show that there really was a need, as we're all well aware, for affordable housing in Eastern Ontario. The EOWC at that time requested that EORN take a look at that and develop a business plan that would be able to be reviewed for opportunities to present for funding opportunities from a regional perspective for affordable housing throughout Eastern Ontario. It took us between 8 to 10 months to be able to do that, and many interviews and a great deal of effort and time, meeting with markets, developers, builders, everything from modular homes, learning about communal and the opportunities in that, municipal lands availability, etc. And in the end, we came out with a rather lengthy business plan that we presented to the EOWC CAOs as well as the wardens in April of this year. So the next steps from that is, I believe, a committee is to be struck through the EOWC to review that plan in more detail, and we'll see where we go from there. But a lot of effort and work was put into that, and we're quite proud of the document that came out the other side. Another initiative we've been working on is Permit Central, and we have been working or had some discussions with a number of municipalities throughout Eastern Ontario to leverage an existing 511 system. Transnomus is the organization that's been working on the 511 system through Eastern Ontario. So we've been working with them on finding a digital permitting platform that we could leverage through the Accelerated High-Speed Program, the ASIP program, which is the Fiber to the Home program through Eastern Ontario, as a means to support municipalities with digital permitting and visibility on permit requests when ISPs, internet service providers, would be working in the right of ways. Very similar to the Broadband One window, which the province introduced throughout Eastern Ontario as part of the Accelerated High-Speed Program. But one of the differences around ours is first has a little bit more municipal input in it and local intelligence, I guess we would call it at this point, in the system. But it also allows for municipalities to recover causal costs that would be directly associated with work being done in right-of-ways, whether it's permits to be issued for the work to be done or permits that are being issued for the review of the work when the fiber platforms or fiber designs are being completed. We have had some pretty good success in some municipalities with this in some of the recovery of those costs as well. So that's been another project we've been working on. And finally, we've been working on the strategic plan for the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. We are working on, or we're about to release a 5-year strategic plan on what it looks like for our next steps with the completion of the cell project and where we may be heading towards after that with other opportunities we see from a regional perspective throughout Eastern Ontario and throughout Ontario and the wider markets. So we will be looking to share that hopefully before the summer sort of breaks for a little bit for some light reading while you're sitting on by the lake or on the patio sipping a beverage, something to read for the summer. So maybe the next slide, please, Marco. So one of the items that we have been, and maybe the next one as well, Marco, please. We have been successful in, and so in February of 2024, the EORN, in an agreement with 2B Development, secured $1 million in funding through the CMHC Housing Supply Challenge around the concept of communal servicing. Now, again, preaching to those who have brought this to Eastern Ontario. So what we've taken is a lot of the education and learning and the efforts that were put in by the Frontenac teams to understand communal opportunities in rural Ontario and developed a business plan to take what's being done there and try to help support that process and project, while at the same time looking to regionalize this or expand the opportunity of communal throughout Eastern Ontario. And as we've been doing these these county updates, we've been speaking to this with local counties. And although Kelly and Joe have done a great job getting out in front of this and sharing their information and their knowledge and the opportunities they see in this, we're continuing to support that message throughout there and seeing great amounts of interest in the communal services and the opportunities and benefits that the counties and the local municipalities see as potential to unlock some of those more rural or higher cost to service areas throughout Eastern Ontario. With the funding, though, under the CMHC grant, which we are now officially allowed to speak about, it was just announced last Friday that we were one of the successful proponents. So the blackout period on the federal announcements has been lifted. So we're fortunate to see that. But under this funding, we actually had 4 steps that we're looking to provide support on. So the first is to provide continued support to the County of Frontenac, which has, as you know, created the municipal corporation. They have a great president in there right now. It's running the tight ship, so that's always good. Or the utility, and it's pioneered communal servicing. So really part of ours is how can we support, but more than anything is how do we take information and learn from all of that effort that has been put into getting this municipal corporation to this point today. And it's been a lot of heavy lifting. We can appreciate that. The second step is we're looking to create a step-by-step guide mirroring what Frontenac's already done, to be able to provide those opportunities to other rural municipalities that may be looking for an opportunity similar to what Frontenac did, but without going through all the pains and trials and tribulations that you've experienced. So really learning from those experiences and trying to expedite the path for others to be able to follow a similar path. Third is to develop and create a system standards, whichever utility has. Hydro is an example of that. And again, you guys are familiar with this. And finally, and this is one that we're sort of, as we've been going through this process, we're learning from, is we had in there was to create and lead a skill enhancement training and education program for municipal staff and operators. But in working with the Frontenac staff and understanding this process a little bit more, we don't necessarily think that might be our opportunity, as there's probably going to be more of a educational aspect from the municipalities, as the service providers look at this. So we don't think we'll have that, but we are taking the educational piece from, again, what Frontenac has taught us and continuing to support that regionally for member municipalities, as well as we've worked with a group now in New Brunswick as well, just to start these discussions around opportunities that they may have for the communal services as well. The next slide, please. So the key takeaways we have is at this point with this funding and with our mandate, which phase 1 goes until the end of this year, is to continue to work with Frontenac to support the FMSC and establish that long-term partnership. We've started looking into MOUs and how we can create legal relationships. So we have already a pretty fluid relationship. It's just to formalize that. To scale that Frontenac model so other municipalities can adopt a similar model, so both within Ontario as well as other provinces across Canada. And this guide that we're looking to create will support 2 paths and processes. One where municipalities can choose to create their own utility, similar to what Frontenac has already done, or the opportunity to join an existing one. So whether it's a continuous county to Frontenac's, or perhaps it's a municipality that could join an existing utility to be able to help support this technology and the introduction of communal within the rural areas. Next slide, please, Marco. Yeah, that was it. Different slide presentation when you're actually presenting to those who have brought this to the area versus the other areas that we're talking to. So it's a little bit easier, I guess. Perhaps we'll see how the questions go, though. So.
Okay, and let's open it up to questions. Questions or comments? I don't see any hands up.
Easy group to present to when they know all the information, so it's perfect.
It seems to be either that or they're hungry.
Well, that could be 5 o'clock meetings could be perfect. Yes, strategic.
Well, I will slow things down. Jason, question. You mentioned fiber optics again. Sorry, Mike from the Islands.
Yes.
Fiber optics, does that include rural areas like the countrysides? Like, is this something that's going to happen sometime? I've seen fiber optic in Prince Edward County going down, lots of orange lines everywhere. Is that something you guys are going to provide in the future for us?
So the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, we're not. We did develop, now this was before my time, so I'm speaking a little out of turn, but Lisa's on here just to keep me straight. So we are not involved in the provincial program right now, which is the ASIP program. We did develop a plan or a program for a gig service that would have done this. The province, I'll say, learned from that opportunity and it came out with their own program. But the purpose of that $4 billion fiber to the home or the premise project is really to service the rural and underserved areas in Ontario. So I know, for example, Wolf Island, there is a good portion of those areas that fiber optic cables are supposed to be coming to for fiber to the home services. I know when I was up actually going to the Frontenac County offices down through Sudbury and Battersea in those areas, I noticed there was a lot of fiber optic cable already being placed. And a lot of the drilling was being done at that point to put those cables in. So our understanding, when this is finished, 99% of Ontario will have access to gigabit type services by the time the project is finished, which is supposed to be the end of 2025.
Jason, I commend you guys. Bring it on.
Now, for our role in there, as I said, that we're not directly involved in this. This is the Ministry of Infrastructure, MOI, who's really driving this. But we are loosely supporting the initiative. So if there are challenges or concerns that you're hearing about, we will be happy to support you in any way we can. Or if there's questions, we can do our best to find answers for you.
And I can tell you that North Frontenac Telephone Company is stringing fiber as we speak on a number of the roads.
No, I think it's good. And I think when the project's done, there'll be some areas that'll have multiple providers, which will open up competition, which will always be good.
Bill Saunders again. I'm not quite understanding the funding aspect of this. Where's that money come from? And more importantly, how can it be allocated or how can it be used?
Sorry, for which program are you speaking?
Well, that's where you lost me.
Okay, so there's a multitude of programs. So there's the CELB project, which is our partnership with the province, the feds, the 3P. There is the communal study that we're working on, which is actually a funding grant that we won through the challenge for $1 million from CMHC, which is the housing corporation.
So,
And then the-
I'll pause. So that one, so how will that money be used, or who can access it? Or is that
So
just funding for?
Yeah, that's part of the study that we're working on, and we are working with Frontenac to look at opportunities for us to help leverage some of that funds to support the growth in the initiatives. So we are working with Kevin and his team on that, and Joe on where we see some opportunities to help try to financially support, and learn from that opportunity at the same time.
Thank you.
Anyone
Another
else?
question? I see one other hand up.
Okay, just go ahead.
Councilor Litchi.
I think that's mine. Fran,
Yes.
Councilor Lichter here.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It's been great. We frequently meet with or approached by our ratepayers, and they ask a number of questions that sometimes we don't have answers to. Hopefully, Eorn can help us to some extent. For example, the first part of the presentation had a chart of all the proposed tower sites. Is that shareable, or can we get that somewhere? I've just been in the Eorn website, and mind you, I've only been there for a couple of minutes. I haven't seen it. That would really help us if we knew about where it's going. That's the first problem. The second problem that we've got is the towers go up and then they sit. And then you see all the Facebook posts and they go from bad to worse. And everybody becomes an expert and no one knows. And we understand that Hydro One is pushed. But is there any way to speed these up, or somehow that the local governments can know more about what's going on than what we do?
Yeah, no, and I think those are fair questions. So the information that we provided today in the deck is very accurate with dates, and that is public now that we've shared this. A year ago, we would have done this in closed session, but we feel that it is important that you are able to speak to your constituents and talk to people who are really asking those questions. So, and if the information isn't there or doesn't match exactly as it may be sort of in the field, then please let us know and we'll do our best to help support that. On the second question around the towers go up and they sit, that is a concern that we have as well. And the time to stack a tower takes sometimes less time than get the utilities there to light it up. So that has been a challenge, and you are right. Hydro One, who is servicing most of our areas, is very tight on resourcing these days. And they have a very heavy program between the ASIP program and some of the growth in Eastern Ontario, as well as our project as well. So all of those things have put some stressors on connecting some of those utilities, which has caused some of those delays as well. But we are working between Rogers and ourselves and Hydro very closely to try to escalate and mitigate as many of those concerns and issues as possible.
Thank you so much. The slide deck in itself, will that be shared after this session, or how do we get hold of it? Or will it be published on the Eorn website? Because I haven't seen it, but I've only been there for a few minutes.
No, and we appreciate the traffic on the website. We'll notice that there in our reports at the end of the month, so that's great. But no, we don't, because we've been doing each of the county councils, we've been sharing that directly with the councils, and we have not posted those on our websites. But maybe Lisa, I don't know if you can help just answer that one.
I think if county staff, I'm happy to send it out to everyone, but if county staff were able to send it out, that also works, but we're happy to do it. I'll connect with Jeanette and her team and we'll get it to everyone. We'll make sure everybody has it.
Thank you so much, because that would really help our outreach. And when you're caught standing there and they ask you questions and you don't really know the answers, this will go a long way. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to receiving that.
Lisa,
Just when you do see the charts, when you look at it more closely, we've just kind of rounded it up by year. So, and we are a fiscal year, so our years are March to March. So there could be towers that are being built now that may go into service before, say, March of 2025. They may go into service in December. So we'll let folks, we'll be, you'll know that because we'll be making announcements, but we've just we'd rather give ourselves a little bit of, not extra time, but we have a buffer in there just to
we understand.
let you know.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, Lisa, I was just mentioning that if you wanted to, or, or with the county can just send it out even to the CAOs. And we can make sure we get it to our council.
Sure, that's great.
That would work great, yes.
And one thing that I have to say is that a lot of the delay, a lot of the delay in towers was at our end, in that the CRINS group weren't doing the job they should have been doing, and it held everything up until finally we said enough is enough, and we took it back ourselves. So that was a big delay that we shouldn't have had, and we should have acted on it sooner. So we have to take the blame for that.
I will say though, once we sort of realized that's where the concern was, staff was great to work with and very helpful with us trying to get these pushed through as quickly as possible. So it was a unforeseen challenge that unfortunately it was a bit of a gap that none of us were aware of, but I think we closed that quickly once we realized that. So we appreciate the help.
Yeah, and we know that you and your staff pushed very hard, Fran, to get movement on those with the company.
Yeah, it's nice to see them finally being approved now at our end, and things will happen whenever, but our part is done. Okay. Anyone else?
If I can say, it's been a pleasure actually working with all of the municipalities at Frontenac County. We know that towers aren't always popular, and it can cause friction. You're the frontline folks that have to hear any complaints in your municipalities. So just to give you a big thank you, because you've worked really hard to try and get those LUAs done, and we really do appreciate it. So thanks very much to everybody and all of your staff.
Okay, we appreciate that. Staff do take the brunt of the complaints at the front desk, so it gets down to us eventually. But living in a rural community, internet and towers is so important to our lives. So I think people realize that, so they're a little more able to accept the things that they don't like, but they can live with because they need it. Okay, anything else? Okay, well, we certainly appreciate the update and the information. Oh, Judy, I'm sorry, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just had one naive question, and it's one that hits the South Shore of Wolf Island in particular. Because we're so close to the US, there's a lot of roaming that takes over anybody's cell phone and anything of that nature. Is there any hope of getting that fixed? Because, we can't even use a Moneris type of thing at our Big Sandy Bay because of the interference, and people are getting hit with these roaming charges. Will this help us in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, so often along the Seaway and into Wolf Island, we are aware of those concerns about the cross-border signals, and that's the U.S. signal at this point is just that much stronger than what we're able to offer on the Canadian side, so it seems to pull it across. We have asked Rogers' technical team to take a look at that, especially for us, basically from your area right through to Cornwall, to see what we could do to try to reduce that, and we're waiting for some more information. So as soon as we have that, we'll be happy to come back and share that information. Unfortunately, I don't have a quick answer for you at this point, but it is something that we are aware of and trying to find a solution for.
And we always encourage people. I know that it's hard and people forget, turn your roaming off, and that may help you not pick up the signal from the US. I have to do it because I don't live that far from the St. Lawrence. So I make sure my roaming is off if I'm on County Road 2, because I too pick up the US signal.
Mike, did you have your hand up? No?
No, I'm confirming the same thing that Lisa said. Turn the roam off. Actually, I block my phones from Bell going across the states. It's a constant problem on the island.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Morgan, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to confirm that we do have to read the 3 motions, just the bylaws and confirmatory bylaws and everything like that.
I'm going to get a mover and a seconder here. They just don't know who they are yet. but I
I
do.
have those as well too, if you want me just to read them out for you.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So first and second reading is moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Resolved that leave be given the mover to introduce bylaw A that has been circulated to all members of County Council, and that bylaw A be read a first and second time.
Okay, can I see a show of hands from County Council members? That motion is carried.
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Resolved that bylaw A be read a third time, signed, sealed, and finally passed.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, well, thank you all very much. And it's only 5:39, so we've got lots of information to think about. And I would say if any of us have questions, we can send an email to any of the staff here tonight, and they will respond to your questions.
And then
Happy to come to any of, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry, we just
I
have
was
a
just
final motion.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if anyone needs us to attend your local councils, we're happy to do that as well. And we can come in person or virtual. If you'd like us to come, we're happy to do that.
Okay. All right, so now we need a motion to adjourn.
And then moved by Councillor Greenwood Spear, seconded by Councillor Leonard, that the meeting be adjourned at 5:39 p.m.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. All right, thank you very much, everyone, and have the nice weather is coming.